divorce. Nobody thinks about it when you're buying a house, when you're setting up for your family. I work with so many couples, so many amazing families, and we go on this beautiful journey of buying them a house and everything. And then I get a call from them several years later and says, Carolyn, we have to sell the house. We're getting divorced. It's never a call I like to receive, but it's a call that happens, okay? And people, whatever the reason why they're getting divorced, but they are. And the biggest asset that typically a married couple acquires when they are married is the real estate, okay? So when you get a divorce, everybody knows pretty much it's a time where you divide the assets of everything that you guys have acquired together. So if you've acquired businesses and houses and boats and, money and 401ks and all that kind of stuff, basically when you go through the divorce, it's about dividing the assets and each party going their separate ways, okay? So the real estate naturally is one of the biggest assets that married people acquire together. Now in Florida, that's where I practice real estate. The Florida law is that the marital home, the primary residence, the homesteaded property in the state of Florida is protected in this marital law, that it doesn't matter if you're not on the mortgage, it doesn't matter if you're not on the deed, it doesn't matter. You bought that house as a married man or as a married woman, okay? When I bought my first house, my name was on the mortgage, my name was on the tax records, was on the deed. No, my husband's name was nowhere in any of the paperwork. But guess what? If we decided to get divorced, he would get 50%. He would own 50% of that home, okay? Now, it's something very important to notate here about divorce is that only applies to the homesteaded property. So if you have other properties, so let's say you guys have your family home, but then you own a few rental properties, you own a second home, that is completely different story. That is whoever bought it, whoever's name it's in, whoever owns that house, that's theirs. Now, of course, in divorce, it's a big negotiation. So good luck. That's all I have to tell you. But according to the law in Florida, the homesteaded house, the marital house that a family owns together, wife owns 50%, husband owns 50%. Guess what? Fun fact, guys. If you've owned your house for 10 years, okay, and you got married and you've only been married for 3 years and you decide to get divorced, they own 50% of your house, okay? So that is the way that it is, okay? Now, I see this a lot too, where people are thinking of getting divorced, but they don't actually get divorced. They just get separated. And then somebody calls me and says, hey, Carolyn, I need to buy property. Me and my husband, we're getting divorced, but right now I just need to move out. I just need to start over. I need to buy something. And I say, okay, well, that's fine. I can help you. But I just want you to know this next place that you buy in your name and everything your husband owns 50% of it. So just know that, guys, then that process, that no matter what, when you buy a primary residence and you're married, the state of Florida says it's a 50-50 ownership no matter what. That's what the law is, okay? So we're going to talk about two of the most popular options. There's more ways to do this, and a divorce is like a negotiation, right? Numbers are negotiable. Everything's negotiable, right? So there's all kinds of things that go into play is, alimony and 401ks and this and that. There's so many things. I'm not a divorce attorney and I don't pretend to be one, okay? So I focus on the real estate portion of divorce. I've worked with a lot of families that go through this, and I know what it's painful, it's emotional, but most of the times what the family wants is absolute top dollar. And that's what we do here is we get our clients absolute top dollar. So the number one way to get the most money possible, which my experience in working with people in divorce and stuff like that is that they want to get, each husband and wife wants to get as much money as possible, because now they have to go and recreate a new life for themselves. You know, they have to buy a new house, or they have to move, or they have to whatever, you know, but it's a new beginning. So new beginnings are a lot easier when you have some, you know, money in your pocket. So the best way to get the most money is actually selling the house. Okay. And I'm going to tell you why. When you sell the house on the market, and this whole, you know, crazy market that we've been in has been a great example of this. If I were to put a house on the market, okay, and when I do the comps and I see what the house is for sale, so, you know, like an appraiser, they would do the comps, they would see exactly what the house is worth, okay? They would say, okay, your house is worth $400,000. However, when I put it on the market, because your house has, you know, special features, a beautiful pool, you guys did all these updates, you did this and that, there's like 100 buyers out there that would love to have your house. So in their mind, that house is worth $450,000, maybe even $500,000, because there's nothing like it on the market. So the appraised value versus the marketability value can be two totally different things. So if you want to get the most money possible for each party, then it's to sell the house. Because when we put the house on the market, you're marketing it to every buyer on planet Earth, opposed to if you just sell it in-house, like within the family, then it's going to be, it's only one buyer. It's only one person saying how much the house is worth versus, you know, hundreds of people putting in offers, putting in bids to buy the house, okay? So that's the first thing, is to get the most money would be obviously selling the asset. And what would happen at that point is, let's say you guys owe $200,000 on the house, the closing cost to sell the house, and then let's say you sold it, you know, for, you know, $400,000. Just for numbers purposes, let's say that you guys had it on the net sheet, it said $200,000. You would get 100, they would get 100, and you guys would go on your happy merry way and continue your lives. Okay, the mortgage would be paid off. You each would have 100 grand in your pocket, and you keep it moving. Okay. Now, the other way to do it, the other most popular way to do it, is called a spousal buyout. Okay. So this scenario comes up, and it's very common because either a wife, you know, wants to stay in the house with the kids because they go to school and this and that and all that stuff, or if it's the husband that wants to stay in the house. It could go either way. Okay. But there's two things here. So if you have the mortgage currently in your name, then you basically have to do a cash out refinance. Okay. So that basically means you go to the bank and say, hey, I need to do a cash out refinance. And they're going to say, okay, no problem. They're going to have an appraiser come out to the house, and the appraiser is going to say, okay, your house is worth $400,000. Okay. And you owe $200,000. Okay. So that means that you and your spouse have acquired $200,000 in equity in the house. Okay. So you're keeping the house. So you're not getting any money. Okay. You're getting the house. Okay. However, you're keeping the house. Your spouse is still getting their share to go forward. So you had a mortgage for $200,000. You have to pay your spouse $100,000. So that means that you're going to have a new mortgage for $300,000. Okay. So you owe $200 on your mortgage. The house is worth $400. Basically, there's $200 in equity. So your husband or wife gets $100, and then you keep the house. So instead of you having a $200,000 mortgage, you're going to have a $300,000 mortgage. Now, if the house is not in your name, okay? So that means that, let's say that the mortgage is in your husband's name and you're the wife and you're keeping the house, then you basically are going to be getting a brand new, you're basically buying your house. That's what you're doing. You're buying your house. So it's a contract that you have between you and your husband, and he's selling you the house. The same thing applies, you know, and that's the part where it can get like a little negotiable, you know, because typically at the end of the day, he's selling you the house. So what price is he selling it to you at? You know, that's why I say if you guys want the most money possible, the real way to determine what is the real value of the house, you got to put it on the market and you got to sell it on the market. Because when you're selling, which in real estate we call that they call it like an arm's length transaction. So when husband and wife are selling to each other, it is not an arm's length transaction. It's a very, elbow to shoulder transaction. It's a very close transaction. Like if I were to sell my house to my son, it's not an arm's length transaction. I'm probably hooking him up. You know what I mean? So when husband and wife are selling together, the bank is not considered an arm's length transaction. There will be an appraisal, and the appraiser is going to come out and say, okay, the house is worth this, $400,000. Then you're going to get, it works out the same way. It's just, if you don't have the mortgage in your name right now, you're basically have to get pre-qualified to buy a house. You have to pre-qualify to get a mortgage. So you have to do your loan documents, you have to this, that, everything, and you get qualified to buy the house. So it can be, there's a lot of options and there's a lot of variables, okay? So if you yourself are going through a divorce, you're thinking about divorce, your friends are thinking about divorce, your family's thinking about divorce, guys, unfortunately, it's something that happens. It's part of life, it's the same thing like when we die. Nobody thinks and wants to die, but it happens, right? And divorce is something that we see so much in our society, and you need a trusted real estate professional that can help you walk through that process and say, hey, this is what your options are. So we a lot of times talk to families well before they ever file or do anything, because they're trying to figure out what's their best option, what's the best way to go about it. So what we do is when we get that call and say, hey, Carolyn, we're getting a divorce, like it's not going to work out. We go through these options for you and we say, what is it that you want? Do you want to stay in the house? Then we say, okay, let's get you with our mortgage broker. Let's see what you qualify for, right? I mean, these are the questions that these are the steps you have to take. Or you say, no, we're both going our separate ways. I'm going to do my own thing. He's going to do his own thing. Perfect. Let's see what the house is worth. Let's see what the value of the house is to put it on the market, And remember me, guys, remember this. I'm telling you, you want to get the most money, you put the house for sale and you each liquefy it and you each get what's right. Because I've seen it too many times when you refinance, the person that's keeping the house is winning. So it depends who's watching this video. It depends, who's our client here, because sometimes I'll tell you, if you can stay in the house and you can qualify to keep the house, then you're actually going to get a better deal, because real estate is always going to go up in value. You're always going to win if you hold the house, but you have to be prepared to get a new mortgage, to have a new mortgage payment, to do all that stuff. So is that your goal? So my intention of this video, guys, was to just kind of shed some light, okay? And know that we are trusted listing agents that are professional in working with divorce situations. We know it's a touchy subject. We know it's a confidential subject. So we have these confidential, consultations with people that are getting divorced. So unfortunately, if you do know someone getting divorced or you're thinking about divorce yourself, send me a direct message on Instagram, drop a comment below if you have any additional questions. I'm gonna be making some more videos about divorce, because I think that there's a lot of misconceptions of how things actually work, and I'd like to really highlight those things. So guys, I hope this was informative, and I hope that you have a blessed day. Thank you so much for watching.